Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Let us continue our study of Sri Jaiva Dharma by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Mahasaya. Let's begin with our Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. We are reading from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Jaiva Dharma, chapter 11. Chapter 11, entitled Nitya Dharma and Idolatry. And we are studying the conversation between the Mullah and Sri Gorachand Babaji Maharaj. The Islamic Mullah has questions about deity worship, and he has come to get clarification from the Vaishnavas in the very temple of Sri Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu, the personal deity of Srimati Vishnupriya Devi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself gave his deity to Sri Vishnupriya Devi, and we read how the service of that deity came into the hands of Sri Vamshi Vadanananda Thakur. And then when Sri Vamshi Vadanananda Thakur moved, his descendants continued the service in that temple. And in that very temple, a group of Muslim scholars have come to discuss about deity worship with the Vaishnavas who are having a festival there. The Vaishnavas have unanimously chosen Sri Gorachand Babaji Maharaj as their speaker. And the discussion is going on in response to the Mullah's question that in our Quran, it is written that the supreme entity has a divine all-conscious form. So we are compelled to accept this form. However, any image of that spiritual form is material, because Allah has a spiritual form. So you make an image of Allah with any material objects, it's a material form. How can that material form be the Supreme Lord? And the worship of a material form is called But in Arabic. The worship of But is not the worship of the Supreme Being. So in response to this question, we saw how Sri Gorachand Babaji Maharaj is explaining the tattva of deity worship, the principle of deity worship. And deity worship is one of the 9 processes of devotional service as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, Archanam. So it is very, very essential for all of us as Gaudiya Vaishnavas to understand the principle of deity worship. Many times devotees have asked me also questions that we have deity at home, Gaur Nitai, but the Prana Pratisthapana has not been done. So is it okay to worship what we offer? Is it really prasad? I have been asked like that. And sometimes devotees also have questions that I have been worshipping the deity for so many years, but someone told that unless the deity has been formally installed through prana pratisthapana, all your artis that you have been offering for all these years, all the bhoga, all the kirtans that you had in front of your deities, it's all useless. So we have to really understand what is the principle of deity worship. Also in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has mentioned 5 main limbs of bhakti, out of which Shraddhaya Shri Murtira Sevan is one of them, worshipping Shri Vigraha with faith. So it is very essential for us to study this chapter very carefully. So Shri Gorachand Babaji Maharaj says, the deity form is always Chinmay. Chinmay means spiritual and conscious. For whom? For those who are on the highest platform of Bhakti Adhikar, the eligibility for devotional service. Those on the intermediate level see the deity as endowed with perception and awareness, Manomay, not Chinmay, but Manomay. The deity has some awareness, the deity listens to our prayers, but they don't consider that the deity is actually Chinmay. If the Shaligram has some cracks or something, then they will reject. But they feel that, okay, the deity listens to our prayers, but they don't consider the deity to be completely spiritual and conscious. So there is the Chinmay Bhav in the deity for Uttam Adhikari. For those who are on the intermediate platform, the deity is endowed with some perception and some awareness. That's all. So that is the Manomaya conception of the deity. This means that the intermediate devotee has faith that the deity is conscious of his thoughts, his prayers, and accepts his mode of worship. However, the intermediate devotee does not directly perceive the deity as spiritual, all-conscious form of Bhagwan. Those on the lowest level, the third level, initially see the deity as material, Jadamaya. So there is Chinmay conception of deity, there is Manomaya conception of deity, and there is Jadamaya conception of deity. The lowest level of devotee sees the deity as material, Jadamaya. But in time, the deity reveals the spiritual form to the intelligence which is purified by spiritual love. Consequently, the deity form of Bhagwan is suitable to be worshipped and served by all the 3 classes of devotees. Kanishta, Madhyam and Uttam. All of them are qualified to worship the deity. It is unnecessary to worship an imaginary form because, as the mullah was saying, worshipping some just stone by the side of the road, worshipping some material object which is not representing the Supreme Lord, that is not required. Gorachand Babaji Maharaj is accepting that fact that it is unnecessary to worship an imaginary form, but it is highly beneficial to worship Bhagwan's eternal deity form. There is a difference between idolatry and deity worship. Idol means just worshipping any image, any stone, any tree, anything whimsically without referring to Shastra. That is idol worship. But deity worship is beneficial. It is beneficial. How it is beneficial for the Kanishtadhikari? Initially, there is Jadamaya conception that this deity is material. Kya ultimately is a statue, hai, a murti hai. But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is revealing that by progressively worshipping that deity, bowing down, taking prasad, whatever little faith is there, that lower level devotee will gradually rise higher and higher. Someday the devotee, that lower level devotee might be in some difficulty and he will pray कि मुझे exam pass करा दो. My exams are coming. Please, please, please God, let me pass this exam. And the prayer will be answered. And then some faith will develop. So he's at the Kanishta level, lower level, but some experiences will happen. And then the faith will increase. And slowly, he will come to the Manomaya conception that, oh, the deity listens to my prayers. That's why I passed my exam. And then slowly, they will go to the Chinmaya conception. So Chinmaya conception is the highest. There is Manomaya and there is Jadamaya. But everybody will benefit from the deity. The deity being Krishna will not cause inauspiciousness to anybody. Any person who approaches the deity will get benefit. That is what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is teaching us. It is highly beneficial to worship Bhagwan's eternal form for all classes of Vaishnavas. The Vaishnava Sampradayas give this provision for people on these three levels of eligibility to worship the deity. All the three levels of eligibility are, all the three levels of adhikar should worship the deity. There is provision for that. There is no fault in this, for it is the only arrangement by which the jivas can gradually attain auspiciousness. Now, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is quoting a very beautiful verse from the 11th canto of Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 11.14.26. Yatha yathatma parimrijjate sau mat punya gatha shravanabhidhane तथा तथा पश्यति वस्तु सूक्ष्मं चक्षुर यथैवांजन संप्रयुक्तम. Lord Krishna is telling Sadbhakta Chudamani Uddhav, "O Uddhavji, as the eyes that are treated with therapeutic ointment can see very minute objects, similarly, when the heart is cleansed of all material contamination by hearing and chanting, hearing and reciting the narrations of my supremely pure activities, that heart, purified heart, can see my subtle transcendental form. Pashyati vastu sukshma. Can see my subtle transcendental form, which is beyond the purview of matter." Similar to Premanjana Chorita Bhakti Vilochanena, Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That Achintya, beyond the purview of matter. So, to perceive the divinity of the deity, one requires some purification. Otherwise, we cannot perceive. The Jivatma is covered by material mind, and in this state, he cannot know himself or render service to Paramatma. As long as Chetodarpana Marjanam has not happened, the mirror is not clean, we cannot see anything in the mirror of the mind. Jivatma is covered by the material mind, and in this state, because the mind is material, cannot know himself or render service to Paramatma. We cannot see the Atma and we cannot see the Paramatma. However, by performing sadhana bhakti, which consists of hearing, chanting, and other devotional practices, the Atma gradually develops spiritual power. The Bhakti Shakti comes by practicing the limbs of bhakti. So we develop spiritual power. As that spiritual power increases, material bondage slackens. And the more material bondage is relaxed, the more the soul's own natural function comes into ascendancy. Thus, one gradually attains direct perception of the Atma and Ishwar, Paramatma, and engages directly in spiritual activities. So this process of purification is required. And how does purification happen? By practicing the limbs of bhakti. Sadhu Sangha, Ado Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya leads to Anartha Nivritti. Can a prisoner who is confined to a cell liberate himself simply by desiring to do so? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that some people say that don't meditate on the deity because the deity is material. And by meditating on something material, you will not get anything spiritual. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explaining, can a prisoner who is confined to a cell liberate himself simply by desiring to do so? You sit in meditation and say, I want liberation, I want liberation, I want liberation. I want to become mukta, I want to become mukta. Is that possible? It's like a prisoner sitting in the cell and thinking, I want to become liberated from this jail, this Durga. It's not going to. What a beautiful example. Can a prisoner who is confined in a jail liberate himself from the jail simply by desiring to do so? His objective should be to eradicate the offense that has placed him in the jail. One has to think, why am I in the jail? Oh, I am in jail because I did not pay my taxes. So let me pay my taxes. Then I can get out of jail. So his objective should be to eradicate the offense that has placed him in bondage. Now the question is, why is the Jivatma in this jail? That's the question. Why we are in this material world? कृष्ण बहिर्मुख जीव भोग वांछा करे निकटस्थ माया तारे झापटिया धरे. So what is the problem? Why are we in bondage? The Jivatma's principal defect is that he has forgotten that he is an eternal servant of Krishna. He has forgotten the Nitya Swarup. Jivera Swarup hai Krishna, Nitya Das. Eternally we are servant. But when we forget that, Krishna bahirmukh jiv, we turn away from Krishna. Bhoga vancha kare. Ataiva maya tare. Deha samsara. Dukh. So because we are turning away from Krishna, we are suffering in this material world. The Jivatma's principal defect is forgetfulness of eternal relationship with Krishna, of servitude. That is why he is bound by Maya. Krishna bhuliya se jiv anadi bahirmukh. Ataiva maya tare deha samsar dukh. That is the verse Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Chaitanya Charitamrita. That is why he is bound by Maya and is forced to suffer material happiness, material distress, repeated birth, repeated death in this world. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani, jathare shayanam. Iha samsare, bahu dustare, kripya pare, pahi murare. Very difficult. Daivi esha guna mama maya durattaya. Very difficult to cross over this material world. Bahu dustare. Daivi esha guna mama maya durattaya. The only way is kripaya pare, pahi murare. Mamevaya prapadyante, then maya metam tarantite. Otherwise not possible. Although a person may initially be busy in sense gratification, if for some reason or another his mind becomes a little inclined towards Ishwar and he regularly takes darshan of the deity and hears some Leela Katha. So, darshan of the deity, you're seeing the deity, and hearing the Leela, you're hearing the activities of the deity. Leela Katha, then his original nature of being the eternal servant of Krishna will be strengthened. The more strength, Bhakti Shakti, the more strength this inherent nature develops, the more competent he becomes to perceive spirit directly. The only hope of spiritual progress for those who are the least spiritually qualified is to serve the deity and to hear and chant about the Lord. That is why the Mahajans have established service to the deity. Just a day before yesterday, I was reading about Srila Narottam Das Thakur from Sri Narottam Vilas. And it is mentioned that Srila Narottam Das Thakur received initiation from Srila Lokanath Goswami and then accepted Srila Jiva Goswami as a Shiksha Guru, stayed in Vrindavan in the association of his dear friend Srila Srinivas Acharya and Sri Shamananda Pandit. And three of them studied the Shad Sandarbhas under Srila Jiva Goswami, studied Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Ujjwal Nilamani, all these Goswami books, Brihad Bhagavatamrit, they studied carefully at Shri Shri Radha Damodar temple. And they did bhajan also, chanting 2 lakh names every day. Wow. When they had satisfied Srila Jiva Goswami told them that now you take these books that you have studied under me, get them copied by different scribes, go to different places. Shamananda Pandit, you go to Orissa. Narottam Das Thakur, you go to Kheturi. Srinivas Acharya, you go to Jajigram. And you preach. Preach based on these books. Just preaching is not going to work. Your preaching has to be based on Shastra. You teach Srimad Bhagavatam, Shad Sandarbhas, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Based on this, you preach the pure teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Srila Narottam Das Thakur went to Kheturi. He initiated his parents. He initiated his uncle, Purushottam Majumdar. And his uncle's son, Santosh, had become the king. He initiated the king, his cousin brother, Santosh. And he initiated the entire Kheturi Gram. Everybody became his disciples and followers. And then Srila Narottam Das Thakur, when it appears that everything is achieved, he received a letter from Sri Loknath Goswami. Srila Narottam Das Thakur in Kheturi, who is doing such amazing preaching work, receives a letter from Sri Lokanath Goswami. Srila Narottam Das Thakur receives a personal letter from Sri Loknath Goswami from Vrindavan. And guess what that letter says to Thakur Mahasaya? You're preaching very good, but now you should establish deity worship in Kheturi. So that grand Kheturi festival, the first Gaur Purnima celebration of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the installation of 5 sets of Radha Krishna deities and one Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu deity, the inspiration, the instruction was Sri Loknath Goswami's letter that your preaching mission will not have a solid foundation unless there is deity worship. Deity worship is very, very essential. So, the only hope of spiritual progress for the least qualified is to serve deity and hearing and chanting. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Archanam. These are very essential. And if you see, Srila Prabhupada, before we go to work at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, the morning program that Srila Prabhupada has given all of us in ISKCON is so perfect. You start your day with Nam Sankirtan. After offering your obeisances to Guru Maharaj by singing the Shri Guru Ashtakam, there is Hare Krishna Mahamantra Kirtan. So we are singing and dancing first thing in the morning at 4:30. Tar Madhya Sarva Shresha Nama Sankirtan. Then we do Tulsi Arti, which is one of the limbs of Bhakti, Tulasi Sevan. Then we hear Srimad Bhagavatam. We sit and chant for 2 hours Hari Nam. Guru Puja also we are doing Kirtan and dancing. So and then there is deity worship going on. The deities are beautifully dressed. Mangal Arti you take darshan. Then there is darshan with full Shringar at Shringar Arti, Shringar darshan. After your japa is over, you take darshan. You participate in the Arti. Shri Hari Bhakti Vilas describes that anybody who takes darshan of the Shri Vigraha deity when Arti is going on, his sins of millions and millions of lifetimes are destroyed and attains Vaikuntha at the end. Just by taking darshan of the beautiful form of the deities when Arti is being offered. And we do that first thing in the morning during Mangal Arti, Shringar Arti, Guru Puja. It is such a beautiful process of chanting, Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing, deity worship, Sankirtan. Everything is there just in that morning program, 3 hours in the morning. Then we can face the world if we chant, hear, read nicely, and do deity worship. So, Mullah says, now listen carefully, this is a very important point. Isn't meditating on a form of the Lord within one's mind superior to meditating on a form of the Lord made up of material elements? What will you say? How will you respond to this? Sounds intelligent. Because material form is made by some sculptor, some murtiwala. It may have defects. It may not be exactly like Krishna. So better not to get into all this material forms. Just meditate on the Supreme Lord in the mind. Now see what Sri Gaurachand Babaji Maharaj says. Meditating on a deity of Krishna made up of material elements and meditating on Krishna or God, Bhagwan in the mind, Sri Gaurachand Babaji Maharaj says they are one and the same. Now please listen how they are one and the same. The mind follows matter, and whatever the mind thinks of is also material. We have to understand that the mind is also material, not that just some metal and stone and wood is material. The mind is also material. Bhinna prakriti ashtadha mein mind bhi hai. Bhumi rapo nalo vayu kham mano buddhi revacha. Ahankaritya mein bhinna prakriti ashtadha. Mind is also material. Now, but that's not all. Just see now. We may say that Brahman is all pervading. But how can our material minds actually conceive of the Brahman? Brahmajyoti. How we can conceive? We will be forced to think with our mind in terms of the brightness of the sun or the all-pervasiveness of the sky. That's because um, that is the yardstick the mind will use for all pervasiveness and for brightness. because the mind will only be able to think based on its experiences. And all the experience of the mind so far have been material experiences from the material world. So how is it different from a statue made of wood or stone and what the material mind is conceiving based on what it has seen in this world? It's a very brilliant argument. We will be forced to think in terms of all purposeness of the sky. How can the mind go beyond this consideration? Our conception of Brahman is therefore constrained by the limitations of the material space. Okay? How about time? Now listen to this. If one says, I am meditating on Brahman, the experience of Brahman will be limited by material time because it fades away when one's meditation is concluded. अभी किधर गया? You meditate, you may imagine some Brahma Jyoti in your mind, and then when you open your eyes and get on with other duties, where is that meditation gone now? That image of Brahman is gone. So it is limited not only by space, but also limited by time. How can the mind's meditation grasp an object that is above matter? Brahman is above matter, and the mind is material. How can you grasp it? Atha Shri Krishna Namadi no bhavet graham indriye. Sevan mukhe hi jivvado swayam eva spurat ada. His Grace Radha Gopinath Prabhu, I was listening to his lecture recently. Radha Gopinath Prabhu was mentioning it was afternoon time in Radha Gopinath Mandir around 2 o'clock. And he was almost alone in the Radha Gopinath temple hall. He was sitting with his back against the Vyasasan, facing Radha Gopinath. The darshan was closed and he was chanting in the afternoon, sitting all alone. And he said somewhere from some window or some door crack, a beam of light was coming on the wooden floor. A beam of sunlight was coming, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And he was chanting. And then one mother came with a child who was maybe 11 years old, 10, 11 months old, an infant child. And the mother sat on one of those chairs on the side and started chanting. And she released, released the baby in the temple hall. And the baby was crawling amok all over the temple hall, exploring the temple hall, and then came right in front of Radha Gopinath Prabhu. And Radha Gopinath Prabhu was thinking, I'm peacefully sitting here and chanting in the afternoon, thinking there will be no disturbance. And this child is here almost in my lap, all over the place, crawling, and I'm so distracted by this child. But there must be some lesson why Krishna is doing this to me. There must be some lesson in this. And then the child saw the beam of light on the wooden floor. And the infant was surprised, what is this? So put one hand and then the beam came on his hand. Then he put the other hand, the beam came on the other hand. And then the child was trying to grasp that beam of sunlight that was coming. And Radha Prabhu said immediately, okay, I got it, what Krishna wants to tell me. The holy name is like that beam of light. Atta Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet graham Sevan mukhe hi jivado swayam eva spuratyata. That Krishna Nam and Krishna Leela, Krishna Gun, they cannot be grasped by our senses like that. But if we serve, if we do seva nicely, if we please Krishna, then Krishna will reveal himself through the holy name, through the deity, through Srimad Bhagavatam, through Vaishnava Seva. Krishna will reveal himself. So he shared that very nice experience he had while chanting. If we are receptive, then we can learn from every little experience that we have in life. So here we see how even the meditation on of the mind is actually a material phenomena. One may reject the idea that the form of the deity can consist of material elements such as earth and water, and one can imagine that Ishwar is situated in the directions or space, but still this is all Bhut Puja. Even meditating with the mind is Bhut Puja. It is worship of matter because mind is matter. And all the conceptions of the mind are matter. Can we conceive God with this material contaminated mind? No. So it's Bhut Puja. No material object can support one's attainment of the transcendental goal. The only thing that facilitates this is the awakening of the inclination towards Ishwar. This inclination is inherent within the Jivatma, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, and is gradually strengthened and converted into bhakti when one utters the name of God recites his pastimes, and receives inspiration from beholding the deity Shri Vigraha. Lord's spiritual form can be experienced only by pure bhakti, not by jnana and not by karma. Because pure bhakti is jnana, karma, adi, anavritam. It is not covered by jnana and karma. Mullah says, matter is distinct from God. I think that it is better not to worship material objects because it is said that Satan introduced the worship of matter to keep the living entities bound in the material world. Now, the conception of Satan is there in the Islam religion and in the Christian religion also. And many times I have also been told this, that, oh, that is the activity of Satan to worship deities. Shri Gorachand Babaji Maharaj replies, please listen to this reply. It is very nice. See, as devotees, if we really study Jaiva Dharma nicely, many foundational essential concepts will become clear just by studying the first two divisions. The third division even I have not studied, Rasa Tattva even I have not studied. But the Nitya Dharma, which is the first division, and the Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan, which is the second division. These two divisions, if we study, then many of our conceptions will become very clear. So now the concept of Satan. Shri Gorachand Babaji Maharaj says, Ishwar is one without a second and he has no rival. Everything in this world is created by Ishwar and is under God's control. Therefore, he can be satisfied with any object when it is used in his worship. There is no object in this world one can worship that can arouse God's malice because God is all auspicious. Even if a person such as Satan exists, he is no more than a special jiva under the control of God and has no power to do anything that is opposed to God's will. Because nothing can happen without Krishna's sanction. In Bhagavad Gita, we see that every activity has 5 causes, and one of them is Paramatma's. He is the Anumanta, Anumanta cha Drashtacha. So he is the witness and he is the Anumanta. Unless Krishna sanctions, nothing can happen. However, now Shri Gorachand Babaji Maharaj is telling the Mullah, however, in my opinion, it is not possible for Satan to exist. It is not possible for such a monstrous living entity like Satan to exist. No activity can take place that is contrary to the will of Ishwar, nor is any living entity independent of the Lord. So these people, this conception of Satan, who is like a anti-God power, cannot exist because no living entity is independent of Krishna. Because their conception is almost like the Satan is independent of God. But that is not possible. Even Hiranyaksha could not survive. Shri Krishna Vijay. Krishna is always victorious. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam also. There's a book also, Shri Krishna Vijay. So Krishna is always victorious. Even my Guru Maharaj was asked that why in the Bible it is said that in the Genesis, God said, let there be light, and there was light. Let there be water, and there was water. That is how creation of this world is described in the Holy Bible. But if we read Srimad Bhagavatam, it is different. The Sarga Visarga, Atra Sarga Visarga, the way it is described is different. We see that the earth, water, fire, air, ether, all these material elements, the 25 elements, they came from Mahavishnu, Lord Mahavishnu. And then these elements were utilized by Lord Brahma to do the secondary creation. Primary creation is done by Lord Vishnu. And then, so it's quite different from how it is described in the Bible. So either Srimad Bhagavatam is correct or the Bible is correct. My Guru Maharaj asked, I have personally heard this. So Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj said both are correct. Because Srimad Bhagavatam is actually how things happen. It is the actual factual description of how creation and subcreation happens. And what is mentioned in the Holy Bible is an allegorical story. It's an allegorical story to make us understand. And there are allegorical stories in Srimad Bhagavatam also. Yayati Maharaj told an allegorical story of the he-bull, he-goat and she-goat. to his wife Devyani. Shripad Narad Muni, Shripad Narad Muni told Maharaj Prachani Barhi the allegorical story of Puranjan to make a point. So similarly, Lord Jesus Christ also told allegorical story how creation takes place. Because at that time, to the audience that he was preaching to, it was not possible to teach the first and second canto and third canto of Srimad Bhagavad. They were not ready. So religious scriptures are given based on the adhikar of the audience, the eligibility of the audience. So here, then Shri Gorachand Babaji Maharaj raises a question and himself answers it. He tells the mullah, you may ask, if Satan doesn't exist, then what is the origin of sin? My answer is as follows. Vidya or knowledge is the understanding that the jivas are servants of Bhagwan. In the material world, people may define Vidya, Vidyalaya. What do you learn? ABCD. What do you learn? Geography, civics, history of Aurangzeb. Is that history? Is that Vidya? It is Avidya. Because nowhere we are taught that we are Jivara Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das. Nowhere we are taught Aham Hare Tava Padaika Mula Dasanu Daso Bhavitami Bhuya. These prayers are not taught to us. It's all Avidya. Sambandha Abhidaya Prayojan. Ask any PhD of Harvard University. What is Sambandha Abhidaya Prayojan? Or Stanford University, or Oxford University, or IIT, IIM, AIMS, Delhi. No postgraduate, PhD, no professor will be able to answer what is Sambandha, what is Abhidaya, and what is Prayojan. This is Vidya. What is being taught is Avidya. So Vidya is being defined here in Jaiva Dharma. Vidya, knowledge, is the understanding that Jiva are eternal servants of Bhagwan. Jiva Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das. And Avidya, ignorance, is forgetfulness of this. Vidya and Avidya. Vidya means to understand our relationship with Krishna, who we are, who Krishna is, and what is our relationship. Bhagwan, Bhakta, Bhakti. This is Vidya. And Avidya is forgetfulness of this. All jivas who, for whatever reason, take shelter of Avidya, sow the seed of all sins in their hearts. This is important. That the moment we forget that we are Krishna's servants, we are sowing the seeds of sins in our heart. Therefore, Prayaschitta will not work. Parishit Maharaj is asking Sri Shukdev Goswami, almost interrupting him in the first chapter of 6th canto, that no, this Prayaschitta I don't accept. Manya Kunjara Sauchavat. This will not work because the seed of sinful desires is still there in the heart. What is the use of doing tapasya and washing away the sins when next day we are going to commit the same sin again, back to square one? So, when we take shelter of avidya, we are sowing the seed of sins in the heart. Means when we forget that we are servants of Krishna, we are putting the seed of sins in the heart. An atheist cannot have any good qualities. Yasyasta bhakti bhagavat akinchana sarva guna samasate sura. All the good qualities of a good person, a demigod, a sura, who is opposite of asura, will come in a person who has bhakti for Krishna. And if one does not have bhakti for Krishna, the contrary will happen. They will not have any good qualities. What good qualities can there be? Because the foundational fact is we are servants of Krishna. If servitude to Krishna is not there in the character, then you may have 1,000 other characteristics. What is the use? If in a mathematical equation, the first step only is wrong, then you may do a lot of mathematical gymnastics and write very neatly one number under the other and long, but everything is wrong because the foundation is wrong. So one should understand this truth of avidya carefully. And instead of imagining an extraordinary myth about Satan, there is no Satan. The Satan is in the heart because we have forgotten Krishna. Forgetfulness of Krishna, avidya, is the Satan, not some person with two horns, red color. That is not. That is just an allegory. But he's here. Avidya is Satan. कृष्ण सूर्य सम, माया है अंधकार, जहां कृष्ण तहां नहीं माया अधिकार. Avidya is the problem. And then Srila Gorachand Babaji Maharaj concludes by saying there is no logic or evidence from Shastra to support this Satan. It's like Santa Claus. Doesn't exist. Mullah, the inclination towards God cannot be stimulated by worship of the deity because the mind of one who performs such worship always remains confined to the properties of matter. Now, if a deity is made of marble and bathing the deity with water is going to ruin the marble and create pitting, create spots on the marble, then we say, okay, don't bathe this marble deity with water, keep it dry, do manasi seva. So that is the mullah's point, that you are worshipping a deity, but that deity has material properties because it is made up of matter. So how can that stimulate inclination towards God? Because you are ultimately worshipping an object made of matter and it has got material properties even after it has been installed as a deity. How do you explain that? Shri Gorachand Babaji Maharaj. We can understand the defect in your theory, O Mullah, by studying the ancient historical accounts of those who became great devotees. So one can do tarka. One can find so many reasons to argue, oh, but that deity is marble, that marble has got spots, that deity is metal, the paint is coming out. Every 1 year you have to repaint your deities, you have to do this, you have to do that. The deity broke. You can do, or Jagannath is made of wood and he has to change Kalevaram every 12 to 18 years. You can do all those arguments. But the proof of the pudding is in tasting it. Shri Gorachand Babaji Maharaj is proving the mullah to be wrong by simply asking him one question. Study the history and see how many devotees have attained inclination towards Bhagwan, have attained auspiciousness by worshipping the deity. History is proof. So many examples are proof. You can have your theory. It doesn't work. This is the reason it will not work. This is the reason it will not work. But it's been working. It's been working. For millennia, it's been working. So he's asking, study the ancient historical accounts of those who became great devotees. Many people began to worship the deity while they were neophytes. But as their devotional mood developed through the association of pure devotees, their realization of the transcendental and conscious nature of the deity also increased. And eventually, they became immersed in the ocean of prema. We have the example of Prithu Maharaj. We have the example of Ambarish Maharaj. We have the example of Prahlad Maharaj in his previous life, where accidentally he went to a temple of Lord Nrsimhadev and cleaned it, waiting for somebody to come and meet him at night. He was not doing some Gundisha Marjana. He wanted to clean that place for personal enjoyment, but it happened to be a temple of Lord Nrsimhadev. And then nobody showed up, and then he laid down there with his head pointing towards the deity. And Lord Nrsimhadev blessed him. In his next life, he was Prahlad. That story is there. We have the story from Srila Jiva Goswami's Shad Sandarbha, where he explains that how that mouse was stuck with the flame in the month of Kartik and jumped up and down. And the deity, Sri Vigraha, accepted that as Archanam and gave spiritual perfection to that mouse. So there are so many examples in the scriptures that are filled how devotees have attained great heights of pure bhakti through deity worship. So that is the proof. Instead of doing all these arguments, the irrevocable conclusion is that satsanga is the root of all spiritual advancement. When one associates with bhaktas of Bhagwan who are fully situated in divine consciousness, one awakens transcendental affection towards Bhagwan. The more this transcendental affection increases, the more the material idea of the deity vanishes. If we associate with devotees who have faith in Krishna, then our doubts about deity worship will go away. Her Grace Ladini Devi, Mataji, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, she attributed her spiritual advancement to chanting and deity worship, mainly. Her focus on deity worship. Jananivas Prabhu, Pankajangri Prabhu. There are so many examples. Raghunandan. Mahaprabhu told him that you just do deity worship. Sripad Indra Prabhu, Sripad Mukundat Prabhu in the current times. You can examine their life. You can examine them, how they have attained spiritual greatness by their connection with deity worship. Deity worship is a very powerful form of bhajan. In contrast, the advocates of non-Aryan religions, means the Abrahamic religions, generally oppose deity worship, but just consider how many of them have attained spiritual realization. How many of them have attained Chinmaya Bhav? They waste their time in useless arguments and malice. When have they experienced true devotion to Bhagavan? The proof of the pudding is in tasting it. Like in Marathi, they say, Baap dakho, nahi to shraddha kar. You can argue, you can say so many things, but how many of them are crying in love for God? How many of them have attained prem? They attain malice, they attain envy, they attain violence. But how many of them have become premi bhaktas? How many of them cry when they talk about their Ishtadev? Have you seen? I have not seen. You see the state of our premi bhaktas when they're speaking on Brahmar Geet. Have you seen any non-Aryan do that? See Srila Radha Govind Maharaj's video on YouTube. Devotees had to give him a towel to wipe his tears. Look at the descriptions in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. How devotees are crying in ecstasy. How their hair is standing. Their Ashta Sattvic Vikar. Is there any mention of Ashta Sattvic Vikar in the non-Aryan texts? Thakur Maharaj is writing it very clearly. In contrast, the advocates of non-Aryan religions generally oppose deity worship. But just consider how many of them have attained spiritual realization, Chinmaya Bhav. They waste their time in useless arguments and malice about deity worship. When have they experienced true devotion to Bhagavan? So this is important principle. Proof is required. The proof of the pudding is in tasting it. If it is nice, sweet pudding, then let the whole world say, it is not sweet, it is not sweet, you will not taste sweetness. Okay, we are tasting. The proof is in the taste. So I will stop here. It is 9:22. Are there any questions? Shri Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Mahashay ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Yes, Divya Mataji. We'll just take one question today.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Now,
Krishna.
about the deity worship, now India is such a holy land, so many temples, deity worship. Why did Krishna allow invaders to come and destroy temples and deities? It's so heartbreaking to hear these kind of stories.
Hare Krishna. Just today, I was listening to one lecture of my Guru Maharaj, Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and Maharaj was saying that even if one is like Yudhishthir Maharaj, who has never spoken a lie, or one is like Sri Bhishma Dev, Maharaj actually was speaking about Bhishma Dev. He said he never spoke a lie. He always fulfilled his promise. He was very respectful to everyone. Even in his mind, Bhishma Dev never bore malice towards anyone. Not even in his thoughts, not even in his dream. Bhishma Dev ever wished anything ill about anybody. But still he had to suffer so much. He had to suffer in his mind by seeing the atrocities being inflicted upon the Pandavas, who were very pious. And he had to suffer physically after the Kurukshetra war, where for months he was lying on the bed of arrows. And Maharaj goes on to describe to the Bhaktivedanta hospital doctors, Bhishma Dev had arrows stuck in every corner of his liver. every corner of his pancreas, his stomach, his bowels, his heart, his lungs, his bones. There was not even enough space to put one finger on the body of Bhishma Dev. He was suffering so much until Krishna came. And when Krishna cast his merciful glance, all the pain went away. Srimad Bhagavatam describes that. So why did Bhishma Dev suffer? Why did Yudhishthira Maharaj suffer? Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj says that in this world, even if we perform only pious activity, still we have to suffer. And the Pandavas are prime example of that. Bhishma Dev is prime example of that. And there are so many other examples. Do we think that Srila Prabhupada had some karma to pay for? Nama Sankirtanam yasya sarva papa pranashanam. Do we think that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada deserved to be attacked with bricks and bamboo sticks and metal rods when he's doing Harinam Sankirtan in Navadvip, in the land of Mahaprabhu? Did Haridas Thakur have any karma to pay for? Did Mirabai have any karma? Did Sanatan Goswami deserve to have skin disease, where his whole body is in boils and ulcers and bleeding and pus? Did he deserve to be imprisoned? Maharaj was saying that this world is dukkhalaya. Whether we do only punya or whatever we do, everyone has to meet with dukkha in this world, because that is the nature of this world. If you are in the swimming pool, you are going to get wet. It is just the nature of this world. It is just the nature of time. It is just the nature of Kali Yuga that the Dharma Bhumi, Bharat, will be attacked by Vidharmis. It's just the tide of time. We read in Devasur Sangram, in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, how Bali Maharaj explains to his demoniac followers, don't be angry with Lord Vamanadev. It is just the influence of time. When the time was in our favor, we defeated the demigods. Now the time is not in our favor. We have been defeated by the Vishnu Dutas. Not the Vishnu Dutas, but the soldiers of Lord Vishnu. Similarly, Bhishma Dev tells Yudhishthira Maharaj that you are Sakshat Dharmaputra. Why did you suffer? You are always in the favor of the Brahmanas. You are always in favor of Dharma. Why did you suffer? It is all because of the time factor. That's how this dukkhalaya and the jada time is designed. That there will be suffering. When Kali Yuga comes, true Dharma will be attacked. And the followers of true Dharma will diminish. It is just the way of the world. Yada yada hi dharmasya glani. Dharma glani will happen. Every time and again. And then again, good times will come. But then again, bad times will come. It's like the changing of the season. Matra sparashastu kaunteya. Shita ushna dukkhada. Agama apayino nitya. Tamsitiksha subharata. We have no choice but to tolerate the changes of this world, which are inevitable. But when we go through adversities, we should take greater shelter of Krishna. And when we go through happy times, we should increase our service to Krishna out of gratitude. In this way, we should always be engaged. So I will stop here. Last question, Shama Kishori Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandat Pranam. Thank you very much for the wonderful class. Prabhuji, here it said intermediate level. It says that those devotees do not directly perceive the deity as a spiritual, all-conscious form of Bhagwan. What does that mean, not to directly perceive?
It means they don't perceive Pratima nahi tumi Sakshat Vrajendra Nandan. They don't perceive that the deity is Sakshat Krishna. They perceive that, yes, this is a holy form of the Lord, and it hears my prayers, it has consciousness, it hears my prayers. But they don't have the perception of Krishna like Raghunandan has had, that you will eat. You have to sleep also. You must be feeling cold also. Once in Jagannath Puri, winter came early. So some Gaudiya Vaishnavas told the Pandas that you should put warm woolen chadar for Jagannath. They said, no, Odana Shashti has not come yet. So either we can follow the rules or we can have conception that no, this is Jagannath. If we are feeling cold, he's also feeling cold. So like that. So that intermediate level devotee does not have that idea that he is Sakshat Krishna. Just like I am a person, he is Krishna. But he understands, okay, there's holy, there is sanctity here. I should keep it clean. When I can offer my prayers will be heard through this medium of deity. So that they're somewhere in the intermediate level. That conception is there, but full awareness is not there. That Pratima nahi tumi Sakshat Vrajendra Nandan.
So Prabhuji, we may know theoretically that Pratima nahi tumi, but it's just at the level of theory, right? Like I haven't experienced it practically.
That's why we are not Uttamadhikaris.
So we just keep doing with faith.
Yes,
And
that's
one
what
day we'll reach.
100%. Chetodarpana Marjana, Shri Krishna Sankirtana. By chanting, hearing, and continuing to do deity worship, continuing to receive satsang, one day we will get there. That's what we
Thank you.
read. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol.